On this week's Gridiron Report, we have the Detroit Tigers draft over the weekend and a Mount Rushmore of our all-time Detroit Tigers draft picks, and it's all brought to you by our new friends at Old Glory. Old Glory offers 300,000 items for music and sports entertainment and pop culture fans, featuring officially licensed merchandise from iconic bands and top sports teams. Discover your perfect fan gear and save with our exclusive discount GRIT, that's GRIT, at oldglory.com. Let's get into it.
In the heart of the city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind every inch, every rim. From the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the grit iron report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire, grit iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The grit iron report where the stories are proud.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, July 15th, and we are in the dead period. We are in the dead period where we have the MLB All-Star Game. The Home Run Derby is tonight. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, this was 2 nights ago, so you already know who won the All-Star Home Run Derby. The All-Star Game is going on later this week, but what we did have was the MLB Draft. It's weird how the MLB Draft for the season before is literally at the midway point and the next upcoming season. So it's weird how that's situated. It's just another way that MLB is doing their absolute best to put themselves out of business with just their weird planning and stuff like that. But the Detroit Tigers had, I believe, the 21st overall draft pick. So we're going to break down who the Tigers took 21st in the first round pick, who they took there, how it kind of differs from their normal drafting strategies. We're going to go over their second round pick. We're going to go to a quick break, and then when we come back from our break, we're going to have some fun. We're going to do a Mount Rushmore of our all-time Detroit Tigers draft picks. Obviously, I would say probably a number of our favorite Tigers of all times actually didn't come here via the draft, so it'll be a fun little deep dive on that. But dead period, MLB Draft. Tigers selected 21st overall.
Yeah, and I think the Tigers probably zigged where, previous Tigers drafts absolutely zagged. Top 3 picks were college players, and a lot of times we're going young, we're going high school, pitchers out of high school sometimes. So yeah, this is definitely a bit of a change. Probably, I hope for the best. I think for the best. Round 1, pick 22, Tigers select Cameron Flukey, right-handed pitcher out of Coastal Carolina. He was a junior. A lot to like out of him. I would say, right off the bat, I think there's some good value there. Tyler, we're both big value guys. Slated to be probably a top 15 pick, one of the first pitchers off the board, and dropped all the way to 22. And really, it was no reason other than an injury coming back from, I think it was a rib injury. The numbers 2026 probably a little bit elevated, probably because of that injury. 4.1, 31 strikeouts and 24 innings pitched. He did miss 2 months with that rib stress fracture, but prior to this injury in 2025, probably his best season, 72 record, 3.09 ERA as a sophomore, first team All-American, and led Coastal Carolina to the College World Series, which I don't think they make it too often, so shout out Coastal Carolina there. 11.6 strikeouts per 9 across his college career. He's got a lot of what we need. He's 6'6", he's got the frame, he's lanky, tosses the ball well. I think he probably sits right around like 95, 96 miles per hour, but can touch 98. So I'm all in all, like this is exactly what the Tigers needed, and it's pitching.
It's different because, and you already mentioned we zigged. Well, and this whole entire draft, like you mentioned, kind of zigged when everyone's zagged because, and I don't know if it has anything to do with NIL or and the MLB. I know the MLB PA is they're trying to get rid of the high school to the league, making that jump and making you have to go to college. I don't think that's going to actually be voted through. I don't know if that or the NIL or any of that had to do with it, but there's a lot of college players selected, as you already mentioned. So yeah, on top of the whole draft as itself kind of going in a different way, the Tigers, who famously are every single year, they fall in love with high school arms. And, you look back to Jackson Jobe, and that was, I think Jackson Jobe was like a top 5 draft pick back in the day. And there was at a point where we're like, okay, this is nice. Like I like this, and I think that was Avila's last draft. But it's like, this doesn't help us now. This is going to help us in 5 years, and we kind of want to win now. Now, obviously, looking back, it's where we're sitting right now. Jackson Jobe looks pretty good. Looked good in his few starts in the league. He actually just had his rehab assignment, I believe, last week. He was touching 100 again, so he's looking pretty good. But this was a different time. They went college pitching. First time we went college pitcher since Casey Mize in 2018 out of Auburn. So I'm glad. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, whether we keep Scooball or we trade Scooball, or, what, we tear it down, we don't tear it down, we do a half, whatever. Like, I feel like that's where we're at. We don't really have time to wait for another high school pitcher to develop. And I mentioned the 21st overall. You're correct. It was the 22nd overall. Like, that's not a top 5 pick that's going to, change and alter a franchise, but like a first round pick should be able to come up, you hope relatively soon, and be able to help the team in where we are right now. So I'm glad they went college here. We're still waiting on a bunch of other high schoolers that are, like we went high school last year with Bryce Rainier, looks really good again, but like not anywhere near contributing. So I'm really glad they went just in general college. But then you mentioned the injury, like Cameron Flukey was supposed to be top 10, top 15. And obviously in every single draft, no matter what the sport, you have these guys that are falling because of injury. We just saw it in the NFL with Gerard McCoy, the cornerback out of Tennessee, who had a really bad knee injury and just kept sliding. And if it wasn't for the knee injury, he would have been top 10. And it's like, okay, at some point, some team's going to have to take that risk. But a knee injury like Gerard McCoy had is a lot more risky than I think Cameron Flukey had. He had a stress fracture in his rib, which, obviously ribs have a lot to do with throwing, right? But I feel much more comfortable with the player being able to bounce back and like having that injury be non-effective whatsoever on his overall output than, a knee injury or something. So like I'm all here for the high upside here. I think it was great value. I'm happy they took the swing on him.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. I'm just looking at his pitching arsenal right now. I mentioned the fastball already, touching 98. It's got some late ride. He's got plus upper 70 curveball, which, curveball is kind of maybe more of a dying pitch in the MLB, but still. He's got that in his arsenal. Low 80s slider, and he's developing a changeup as well. Changeup is the hot pitch right now. I mean, really, the cutter's the hot pitch, but still, changeup extremely deadly in the MLB right now. I mean, Tarek Skubal is just changing the game with his changeup. So yeah, hopefully he learns a little bit from Tarek. If Tarek stays around, we don't know. That's another thing I wanted to bring up, Tyler. Like, is the writing even more on the wall now with not only pick 22, but just the Tigers taking 10 plus pitchers in this draft? Like, are we just loading up on pitching because we absolutely already know that Tarek Skubal is gone at some point, whether it be, at the trade deadline or maybe after this season? Like, is the writing on the wall? Is this signaling anything?
No, I don't think this has anything to do with Tarek. Obviously, Tarek came out last week and basically doubled down saying like, I want us to buy at the deadline. I want to finish the year here in Detroit. And this isn't a Tarek Skubal episode. We're not going to really dive into that. That annoyed the piss out of me. Like, of course you want to be here. Of course that's what you're going to say. But if you really wanted to be here long term, you could make that happen. It's like we're all trying to find the guy who's doing this. It's you, Tarek. If you want to be here, you can make it happen. But I digress. I don't think us going so pitcher heavy in this draft has anything to do with Tarek. I think it more so, you and I were talking about this before, I think it just more so has to do with the way our farm system's set up at the moment. We went, like I mentioned, high school pitcher after high school pitcher after high school pitcher, and then Casey Mize, college pitcher, and then high school pitcher. We were so pitching heavy in our minor league system that eventually those guys all kind of came through and graduated, and that's why we have Troy Melton in the league, Jackson Jobe in the league, Casey Mize in the league, all these first round draft picks. Alex Faedo, who ended up being a huge bust, Matt Manning, Bo Brisky, all these guys that we drafted were pitchers, and they were kind of cementing our farm system for many years. Those guys all graduated. They're contributing either here or elsewhere or out of the league. If you look at our top 10 prospects for the draft class right now, you have outfield, shortstop, center, or excuse me, I'm watching basketball in the background. I got basketball in the mind. Catcher, second baseman, catcher, outfielder, shortstop. And then at 8 and 9, you have left-handed pitcher, 9, right-handed pitcher, and then back to shortstop, catcher, right-handed pitcher, shortstop. So like out of the top 13, 11 of them are position players. So I think it has less to do with Tarek and just trying to refill the minor league system of pitching, because it's kind of what we're struggling a little bit with. And not, I don't mean to say struggling because like we're struggling because we graduated all of our young pitchers. So that just means we have a pretty good young rotation. But in the pipeline, I think they just needed to go pitching heavy in this draft class.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. It makes perfect sense, man. I mean, you broke it down perfectly. But of our prospects, man, like what? Like one pitcher in our top 10? Like it's not enough. We don't have, the cupboard doesn't have nearly enough pitching prospects. So yeah, we're throwing shit at the wall. Hopefully it sticks with the later picks, but early pick. I like it, man. Flukey, and it's a Flukey name too. I kind of like it. He's huge dude, 6'6". I mean, who's the guy in Milwaukee? Just absolute monster frame. Like I feel like these big pitchers, I'm a huge fan of them, man. So yeah, I'm all in on Cameron Flukey.
On top of him being standing 6'6", like you mentioned, he also, his arm slot is about as top to bottom as it can physically get. Like he's,
Right.
you got these, you don't really see it so much anymore, but you used to have like the submarine pitchers with the guys that are coming up and under, the guys that have like a 3/4 slot. He is like as windmill as they come. So like imagine just 6'6". I have in front of me what his wingspan is, but just going straight over the top, like that gives him such a benefit being already tall, already be up on the mound. So I like he's got all the intangibles. Like you said, really relies on his fast pitch. He's learning to try and basically get a few more of these pitches moving. Needs to be a little bit more effective with that fastball, even though I think he had 1 or 2 years where it jumped from like low 80s to mid 80s to then suddenly low 90s. So he's obviously still kind of growing. I like it. I think it was for the one, like I said, to start this all, I think it was like the first time in which they kind of did what everyone was like, oh, okay, like, wait a minute. This isn't like a guy that no one really heard of and, didn't catch us off guard, that we are not going to hear about for the next few years. This is a guy that, I don't know, maybe we'll see what his ETA is, estimated time to the league. But you would think coming out of college, he's going to probably jump immediately into at least AA, maybe high A, but maybe AA. And then you could see a promotion towards the end of the year, and he could be really contributing at middle to late next year. So, and that's what this team needs, because a lot of question marks with Flaherty getting older. Who knows if Scubo's going to be here? Who knows if Casey's going to be here? We mentioned it last week. There's got to be some bad blood between Casey and the front office with them taking the arbitration over $12,000. So like you could be suddenly looking at a rotation of Troy Melton, Kiter Montero, and Jackson Jobe. And while I like that, that's a little bit thin. So you might need some contribution from a guy like him.
I'm with you, man. Yeah, I could definitely see Flukey. Like, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be on the team like late next year, like you said. Certainly probably the start of the 2028 season. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's in that starting rotation as a 20. At that point he's probably like 24, 25, right? So just perfect timing to start your career. Just a couple more things. A quote from MLB Pipeline Scouting Report. They say that few college pitchers get swing and misses with the fastball and chases with the curveball better than he can. And then I think he was quoted on draft night saying that he grew up watching Casey Mize. He calls Tarek Skubal one of his favorite pitchers to watch. So yeah, we'll see, man. But until I hear otherwise or see otherwise, yeah, I'm all in on Cameron Flukey.
And the last thing I want to say before we can get to just our second round pick, and we're not going to dive in full detail on a bunch of these other guys, but you mentioned swing and miss. Like that's the other thing that Detroit very, very much struggles with, is having swing and miss arms. We really don't have any swing and miss arms on this roster. It's a lot of ground ball hit guys, or, guys that initiate the ground ball, a lot of guys that initiate the fly outs. We don't have a lot of swing and miss guys, whether it's in the starting rotation or in the bullpen. So just adding another guy who does that just about as well as anyone else is just another reason why it's like, okay, this kind of was a match that was made, perfectly for us. And he says he's 100% after his rib injury. You read off his numbers. His numbers at Coastal Carolina wasn't that great. I think he held LSU in the College World Series last year, the year before Coastal Carolina, to just 1 run, I believe, in over 6 innings, which is pretty good. LSU is a pretty good team. And so you kind of look back at that year rather than the Coastal Carolina, because he was still, they wanted to shut him down apparently, but he still wanted to get out there and pitch, and it was only like 20 or so innings or so. You can't really base it off that. But swing and miss arm, again, just another thing that we don't really have that will fit in very nicely with this farm system.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much we want to break down the rest of the guys. Just have a few up in front of me. Second round pick 61. Tyson LeBlanc, shortstop out of Kansas. Probably the only thing I know about this guy, he hits bombs. I think he broke the Kansas single season record, 25 homers. Shortstop who hits bombs. I'm all in for that for sure.
Yeah, so Tyson started at I believe it was either junior college or D2 or D3. He only had 1 year at Kansas. He started at a smaller school before then. He had 171 plate appearances over 41 games, just 5 home runs, 1 triple. But he had a batting average of 345 with St. Cloud was the junior college he was with. And then, like you mentioned, then transferred to the larger school, larger program over to Kansas, and really exploded. 25 home runs, still had a batting average of 341. So an OPS of 1.131. on base percentage of 425, slugging of 706. So he was able to continue with his good contact while also tripling his home runs from the year before. So he was able to do it both in a higher, more competitive league. Interesting that I was gonna say interesting that we went to the shortstop because it's a little bit of a log jam in the middle, up the middle there. But the thing with Tyson, 6 foot right now, 195 pounds. Word has it that there's not much hope that he'll be able to stick at shortstop, which might end up being better for us. He likely will end up transitioning just based on his not so stellar defense and his size, that he'll likely transition to second base or third base, which again would make it easier for us because we already have Kevin as our second baseman as a future. You have Bryce Rainier in the system already, who's coming back from injury, playing excellent as a shortstop. You have Colt Keith, who's here long term, still a young guy. So you kind of have those three guys to figure out where they're going to go. Who's going to go where, and then you had Tyson in there, so it's likely he's going to move off a shortstop. But yeah, just a power hitter. A guy that got it done while also being able to maintain a good batting average and on-base percentage. So we don't need to. It'll be a long time probably before we see Tyson with Cameron Flukey. He's immediately stepping in as the best pitcher in our prospect list in the farm system. Probably gonna jump in, I would say, with Cameron. Probably he's gonna drop in, I would say, like 4 or 5 maybe total overall in our system. With Tyson, he's probably gonna be closer to like 9 or 10. You look at last year's first-round draft pick, Jordan Yost. He's sitting at 7. He also was a shortstop, so interesting there. We're kind of just doubling down on these prep shortstops. But yeah, it'll be some time before we see Tyson, really anytime soon.
So do you have any other like early round guys that you want to break down? Because there is like a couple late rounders that are actually kind of intriguing. But before we do, yeah, if you have any others, like I think we had a comp round B pick. We had a 4th round pick. So yeah, you got any more notes?
Yeah, the only other one, I think we had 69th overall, Evan Dempsey out of Florida Gulf Coast. I just know he's a
two-way player, but he pitches.
Okay, two-way player.
Yeah.
Yes, so he's a two-way player. I think he is planning on just transitioning full-time into a pitcher. Mm-hmm. So that's really, Evan Dempsey is the only one I really also read about. But if you have some late round guys that might contribute at some point,
just one, honestly, but not one that's I don't think going to contribute, but like it's just kind of more intriguing. You look at like where guys are projected to go. Like for instance, like Tyson LeBlanc, our 2nd round pick, he was MLB Pipeline's number 113 prospect. So graded as a round 3. We took him round 2. This guy that we took in the 11th round, pick 336, Will Adams out of Alabama. He's a first baseman. On paper is a steal. MLB Pipeline's number 102 overall prospect going 336, but he is an LSU commit. So, I mean, is this just a classic case of a guy who, no one else is drafting him because he's definitely going to LSU. And, once that happens, basically your rights to him are over, right? So I thought that was intriguing. Like, I mean, if he does somehow stick around and, the Tigers can sign him, NIL is a thing now, right? Like players are just going back to school, making more money with NIL versus, if they were going to the minors. So, yeah, I just thought it was intriguing. Potential steal, but probably not a guy who's going to, play for the Tigers.
That's a good point because we should probably know, because the MLB draft is different. I think we've covered this maybe once or twice on the pod before. MLB draft, like you mentioned, these guys are some of them coming out of college in which they're out of eligibility. They're coming to the league. I guess they could deny or decline their pick and then just go work out independently and come back the next year trying again. But most of them are coming out of college, you're going to accept it. Coming out of high school, like you mentioned, there's the option that these guys could go play college ball and get money there, or they can go play with the big league, whatever team drafted them. Say, for instance, they don't like the team that drafted them, or they think, yeah, I got drafted in the 5th round, but like, I know with a college regimen, college diets, college coaching, I can do better. And I could be drafted in the 2nd round. I know I can get there. They might decline and then go there. So it comes really into play is like how much money you offer each of these guys, because you had only X amount of money to offer to all your draft picks. So you may have to kind of undercut a guy and give a guy lower than you really think he's worth because you have to overpay for a guy, like this guy that you just brought up, in order to keep him from going to college. So that's where it gets really tricky on overpaying and underpaying slot and stuff like that. So I would assume if everyone kind of passed on him and we took a swing on him, it was either like, okay, we'll we'll at least give it a shot. Like you said, I think you said 11th round picks. So like we might just give it a shot to see like, hey, maybe he wants to come to Detroit, or maybe they see it and they're like, okay, we like him enough. We're going to offer, our 6th round pick even less money because we know he's coming out of college. We know he's got no other options. He's going to come play here no matter what. We can give him a couple $100,000 less, and we can offer this other guy a couple $100,000 more in order to try and steer him away from college. So it is super interesting, the MLB draft and how that works. But we'll have to wait and see where those slots come in to see if he's going to be coming to Detroit or if he's going to be, gearing up to play college ball.
Yeah, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Alabama. And an LSU commit. So yeah, if I were him, I think I probably know what I would do. I'd probably want to, go at least for a year of college, just be the man at LSU and hit some bombs. I think he's a two-way player too, so he might pitch. I have no idea. But yeah, either way, Will Adams, we love to have you in Detroit. It's beautiful, especially this time of year. We will see on that one.
Yeah, so all in all, we have essentially the top few picks. We have Cameron Flukey, 6'6" pitcher, right-handed pitcher, 6'6". He will be coming to Detroit. Really no question there. You had Tyson LeBlanc, the one-time Kansas Jayhawk, transferred from a junior college, 25 home runs, not really built like a power hitter, but is somehow able to get air under the ball, does a good job there. It's technically right now a shortstop, but is likely, based on his lack of speed, he's going to be switching to either second or third base down the line. You had Evan Dempsey, as I mentioned, right-handed pitcher from Florida Gulf Coast with a compensatory pick. He's a two-way player for Florida Gulf Coast, but it's likely he's going to be switching just full-time to be the right-handed pitcher. Had a 3.15 ERA in his 15 starts with 34.1 percentage of batters he faced, striking them out. Expected that when he actually does go full-time to pitching, he will, some of his numbers, his velo will likely pick up a little bit. He is, I think it's sitting at about 92, 93 at the moment with a three-quarter slot released. So it's likely he's going to pick that up once he becomes full-time pitcher. And then just a number of miscellaneous pitchers, like you mentioned to start this segment, a bunch of pitchers coming through. And then the gentleman that you mentioned as well. So I like it. I like the draft. I'm glad we kind of went against the grain, what we normally do. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out now. Okay, so let's go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have some fun and get into a Mount Rushmore of our all-time Detroit Tigers draft picks. All right, we are back. So we just had another draft class in the books for the Detroit Tigers. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, a lot of everyone's favorite, all-time Tigers, the guys that have contributed here the most over their career, the Miguel Cabreras, the Max Scherzers, these guys that are absolute Detroit legends, didn't come here by way of the draft. When you cut it down to just who contributes here in Detroit and how they end up contributing there, and you only talk about the guys that came in through the draft, the list really dwindles quite a lot. So we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna do a Mount Rushmore of our top MLB Tigers draft picks. We already selected before we started recording. I got the number 1 draft pick as always. I promise I never rig it. But if you go back and listen to all of our Mount Rushmore episodes, it almost always starts with me. Like you said, though, like you and I both said, Kyle, I think there's a number of different ways you can go 1-1 with this draft. So let's start it out. I'm going to take 1-1. And just by the way, we 100% are going to get lost in this draft. I'm going to lose track 100% of who goes where. But 1-1, I'm going to start off with probably the best. He's gonna go down. I think he's going to go down as the best pitcher in Tigers history. I mean, it's first ballot Hall of Famer, still currently on the team, has not made his debut again.
You absolute bastard.
I had to go 1-1, Justin Verlander, the top draft pick for the Detroit Tigers in my eyes. He is 1-1. Justin Verlander, for me, was one of the first guys I remember coming up through the program and coming all the way through and then making his debut. I mean, Justin Verlander he led that insane rotation back in 2013 with him, Max Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez, David Price. I think maybe was a little bit after that, but regardless of all the different guys, when we were the absolute juggernaut that we were going to back-to-back World Series, even though we lost both of them, he was the head of the snake there. It was Miguel Cabrera in the batting lineup, and it was JV in the pitching rotation. So I think it sounds like you were going to agree. You were going to go JV 1-1 as well.
For sure, man. Not just because he's my favorite athlete of all time. Not just Tigers athlete, but yeah, JV. He's the absolute man. Yeah, I think it's a great pick. You had his accolades for sure. Career, or with Tigers' career, 183 wins. 2,373 strikeouts, 56 WAR in Detroit. Rookie of the Year in 2006. led us to that World Series in '06, another one in 12, like obviously both losses, but still like just absolutely clawed us out of just the depths of despair. And yeah, it really just my childhood, our childhood was filled with a lot of great Tigers memories. Because of Justin Verlander. So yeah, I like that one for sure. Definitely stole a good one. Two, this is a pretty easy one for me at two. I wasn't quite sure where you're going at one, but now I do have a pretty good view. My first pick, I'm going to go with Tigers legend. I'm going to go Alan Trammell, shortstop. 2,365 career hits for the Tigers, 6-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover, 3-time Silver Slugger. This guy just did it all. He even managed the Tigers for a number of years. Granted, we were kind of shit when he was the manager, but still, like he is just Tiger through and through. 20 seasons, all with Detroit, 185 home runs, 1,000 RBIs, 236 stolen bases, 70 plus WAR. Guy did it all, man, including winning a World Series 1984, which like I think that'll probably be a theme of guys that we've drafted. Happens to be the last time the Tigers have won a World Series. But yeah, 84 World Series. He was the World Series MVP. Easy 1-1 for me, at least. Alan Trammell.
Alan's a kind of a cheat code in this because he still is with the organization. He's still in the minor league system teaching and coaching these young guys. Kevin McGonigal is said to have a lot of his success due to Alan Trammell. They worked very closely together. They still do. Tram is about as like for any organization ever. Tram is like the number one what you want. To draft. Come up like you said, all the success he had. The 6-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, World Series MVP, 1984 World Series. The 3-time Silver Slugger, Hall of Fame, but then, like I said, upon retirement, stick around the organization, still help out and just be absolutely in love with it. At 68 years old, still helping and just proving that was such a good draft pick. I mean, 1,000 RBIs, a 70.6 WAR, like you mentioned, is just crazy to me. Allen, that's a very, very good pick. I think that definitely deserves to be 1-2. It's very good.
Hell yeah. And I guess we should mention like where these guys got drafted too. So just a quick recap. JV, number 2 overall pick, right? He was super high. Trammell, 2nd round pick. So I mean, you got some insane value there in 2nd round pick, getting a guy like Alan Trammell. And I took him number 2. So yeah, my 2nd round pick. I think, you know what? I think I'm just going to solidify my middle infield right now. Take an absolute legend, a guy who actually has more career WAR than Alan Trammell. I'm going with Lou Whitaker, man, second base, 1975 draft, so a year before Alan Trammell, 5th round pick. So I don't know who the Tigers GM was in the mid 70s, but the man was just cooking with gas. I mean, back-to-back years, you draft Lou Whitaker, then you draft Alan Trammell. Yeah, Lou Whitaker, man, what can you say? 75 WAR, 244 homers, 1,084 RBIs, a rookie of the year, his year in 1975, 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 4-time Silver Slugger, and also there's a theme here, 1984 World Series, obviously. Hall of Famer, actually, yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer. Yet. He's not a Hall of Famer. Probably I would say one of the bigger Hall of Fame snubs. Alan Trammell is obviously a Hall of Famer. Lou Whitaker is not, but still, man, this guy's a legend, and I do like. Voice crack, sick one, Kyle. I do like that. My middle infield, Trammell and Whitaker. I mean, these guys played together for both of their entire careers. So I guess 19 years, counting the 1 year before Trammell was there. But they actually I believe they have the most games played together of an MLB duo at like nearly 2,000 games played together. So yeah, I gotta check that fact. But these guys are legends together. So I'm glad they're on my team.
I mean, honestly, So if I was a nicer co-host, I would like Lou and Tram are like they're one and the same. Like you get one, you get the other. They're such an iconic package. Lou and Tram up the middle, double play. You can't even package them together any better. They're so amazing. I love how like they are just one units there for so many years. I don't know the actual lore behind it. I believe there is some contention as to why Tram's in the Hall of Fame and Lou is not. Don't know if it has anything, what it actually has to do with. We're not really going to touch into any of that. But Lou Whitaker, it is far overdue. He definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Lou is, he's just absolutely insane. I thought a 70 WAR from Tram was insane. 75.1 WAR, with even more RBIs than Tram. Obviously, Tram is doing a lot more for the organization now with the coaching in the minor leagues. But him and Lou, like they're just a Batman and Robin, and I don't even know who would be the Robin in this. Is a Batman and Batman, like a Batman and Superman. Like I so wish we were like around and like watching Al and Lou just absolutely dominating the center of your infield, like you said, just shoring it up for years and years and years. That's a really good. That's a really good 1-2 punch. Like that's an iconic 1-2 punch for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm curious to know where you go here. So this is going to be now your second and third picks.
Second
so we don't
and
get
third,
lost in the
second and
snake.
third, which we will still get lost in the snake. I'm going to go. Yeah, I think Tram, in my opinion, JV and Tram were the number ones that they had to go. They're probably going to go 1-2 no matter what. Maybe 2-1, but I think it's going to go 1-2 like that. Then it got a little bit different, a little bit, you can go a few different ways. I think Lou was a great pick there. I think after Lou, you can even go even further. Like, I can't wait to get to honorable mentions because there's so many guys. I'm going to go Jack Morris, still also involved with the franchise, the organization. He's obviously involved with the announcing there every now and again. Jack Morris, 6'3".
He was on the 84 team, by the way. Ace,
oh, he was.
Ace
Okay.
on the 84 team. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, if you can't tell, there's an obvious best draft class we've ever had that led to the 84 World Series team. But 6'3" pitcher, Jack Morris, 5-time All-Star, is in the Hall of Fame as well. World Series MVP. Ended up winning the World Series 3 different times. Obviously, he jumped around to a few different teams after that. A 43.5 WAR. Ended up with 254 wins with a career ERA of 3.9. Had 549 games, 527 games saved. 3,824 innings pitched with 2,478 strikeouts. If Allen and Lou led the infield and the batting lineup for that 84 team, Jack Morris absolutely played his role with the starting lineup there. Kind of similar to what we were talking about with JV and Miggy in the 2013 years. Jack Morris is going to be my second overall pick.
Hell yeah, man. Dude, Jack Morris, incredible, man. Yeah, one again on that World Series team. Hall of Famer. I think he was in the same Hall of Fame class as Alan Trammell. So yeah, both those guys together. Unfortunately, no Whitaker there. But yeah, I mean, Morris was incredible, man. Just pivotal. He's the ace on your 84 team. And again, dude, he was 5th round of the 1976 draft class. So yeah, you draft Alan Trammell in the 2nd round, Jack Morris in the 5th round, and then the year prior you drafted Lou Whitaker, 1975, and he was your rookie of the year in 78. So yeah, dude, that's insane, dude. I mean, whoever this general manager is, I should actually just like look it up now because he needs his flowers. Because yeah, insane run, man. Jack Morris was awesome.
All right, so for my next pick, because we are not going to get lost in this draft, I'm confident we won't. My next pick, I'm going back and forth a little bit on this pick. My heart is telling me one thing, but I don't know if it's going to play as well to the fans, but we're not pandering. So I'm going to go with my third, and I also didn't want to go pitcher. So I'm going to go with my next pick, which might leave a very good one on the board for you. I'm going to go with Lance Parrish. Again, still part of that 1984 team, catcher. He was from the 1st round in the 1974 draft. 16th overall. He had a 39.5 WAR, 1,782 hits, had a career batting average of 252, 324 home runs. He is 8-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves, 6 Silver Sluggers, 1. I mean, he was, in my opinion, just so very underrated. Part of this team, to have an offensive catcher back then, like we talked about last week, how important it is having Dylan Dingler being an offensive-minded catcher. When you get one of those that come along, a Buster Posey, a guy like that it can change the entire team. And I think Lance being an all-time absolute cornerstone to this team. And defensively, he was, absolutely insane too. So Lance Parrish is going to be my third overall pick.
Yeah, dude. Awesome pick. I was probably going to scoop him up if you didn't. Fantastic pick. Yeah, drafted 1st round, 16th overall in the 74 MLB Draft as a Tiger, 212 homers. I think that's most of any Tigers catcher, which certainly most of any Tigers catcher that we drafted. I feel like had it more than 212, but I don't have that up in front of me. Yeah, 6-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger. Lance Parrish, man, he was just awesome, man. When you're a catcher and you can have just Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers, that's always good to have on your resume. Great pick for you. I think I definitely would have snagged him. So yeah, shoot. So I have. We said we weren't going to do this. I have 2 picks, right? I have my 3rd and 4th picks. I believe are coming up right now.
And then I wrap up.
Okay, awesome. The snake draft almost got us. I'm gonna go with a legend. I'm gonna go with a legend here for a couple different reasons why he's a Gridiron Report Detroit legend, because this guy's also a Michigan State Spartan, man. I'm gonna go with my number 3 overall, Kirk Gibson, man. Drafted 1st round, 12th overall, 1978 out of Michigan State. Cool little fun fact that a lot of people know, but also a lot of people don't know this. somehow that he was also an All-American wide receiver for Michigan
He was
State.
insane. Yeah.
And chose baseball over football. I mean, what a decision too. I mean, he would have been just a beast playing football too in the NFL. But yeah, as a Tiger, hit 273, 195 homers, 194 stolen bases, man. So this guy, obviously, he's a wide receiver in college. He's got wheels. 1984 World Series, hit a dagger in I think it was late in the World Series home run that more or less sealed it. Again, yeah, this exactly. This World Series is obviously dating Tyler and myself, both born in 1996. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he was the Harvey. He gave us the iconic image of him. I just did like the jumping in the air, arms in the air, like. Yeah, he was. I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, just an iconic personality in Tigers history.
I think the only reason why he's probably going a little bit later in this draft, one, I mean, we got awesome Hall of Famers ahead of him, but two, like, he only spent maybe half his career with the Tigers, maybe less. I don't know. He went on to the Dodgers, iconic home run in I think maybe a couple of years later, whatever World Series that is, or I think it was the World Series that he's basically hobbled at the plate, and yeah, he just hits a dinger. That was obviously in a Dodgers uniform, so not doing it all for the Tigers, but still, like, 1979 to 87, and then again, I think he maybe finished his career with the Tigers too. So he, obviously playing quite a few games with the Tigers, but yeah. I'm going with Gibby at my number 3, and then number 4 is tough. I could go a bunch of different ways. It's tough, man. One of my favorite Tigers growing up, definitely on my list. If you don't snag him, he'll be honorable mention 100%. But I got to do it, man. Just because, one, he is our boy. Two, 9th round pick. And so even though his career, just 2020 to present, man, Tarek Skubal has got to be on my list, dude. 255th overall pick, back-to-back AL Cy Youngs, unanimous. 2024 pitching triple crown. He went 18-4, 2.39 ERA, 228 strikeouts, just racking up all-stars left and right. Career about 3.0 ERA. Just he's been the best pitcher in baseball for a solid 3-year stretch now. Like we said, back-to-back AL Cy Youngs, which is not easy to do by any stretch. Yeah, he can do it all. Just power pitching. His changeup is deadly. And then just the value that the Tigers got him for, just an absolute diamond in the rough. 9th round pick, 255th overall. So I needed to have Scooby on my list, even though we might lose him at the trade deadline, might lose him after this season. Probably will, one of those two. But at any rate, man, he's a Tigers legend, Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, I obviously he was coming up on my list. I think if we were talking about all-time Tigers legends and stuff, he would be obviously much further down. But like we mentioned when we started the draft out, your pool definitely dwindles when you're talking about just guys that were drafted. So even if we were just talking about legends, like, he would be involved somewhat in the conversation. He just wouldn't be as high. He was absolutely on my list. Like, if you wouldn't have taken him, I have a guy for my last pick, but if you wouldn't have taken him, it would be real tough to see him not be picked by either one of us. Even though, like you said, like, he is still so young and his career might be essentially done here in Detroit. But we just talked about Gibby, who spent, I think he spent 8 years in Detroit, and then bounced around the league, and then spent another 2 to 3 years as we wrapped up towards the end of his career. But yeah, I mean, Skubal, you already mentioned, 2-time Cy Young, back-to-back, first time. Well, that's the first time that was done since like Pedro Martinez, I think. Triple Crown, 2-time All-Star, would have been a 3-time All-Star this year had he not have been injured. We talked about that last week or the week before. Tarek is at the end of the day, if he resigns here in Detroit, and we don't need to get into like what we think he still has left in the tank, like, is it going to be worth the signing? Whatever. If he signs here in Detroit, he plays any longer than past this year in Detroit, he very likely will move way up this list. At least, I don't think he's going to end up touching JV or Tram or Lou, but like, he's going to be up there with like Jackson and stuff like that. So I think he had to be on one of our lists, and just because of the short-termness of it, you can't fault the guy on it. So I like that pick for sure.
And you got one more, man.
Yeah, my last pick. Oh, there's so many guys left. We're going to have a good honorable mention. My last pick for all-time Detroit Tigers draftees. I'm going to go with a guy, I mean, say what you want about him. He's a hell of a player. Arguably one of the best players of all time at his position. Not the best, in my opinion. I think there's a guy who retired a few years ago that was better at this position, but he has definitely changed the sport, I think, at this position. I'm going to go with the Detroit Tigers draftee 2014 in the 37th round, one Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes, Detroit Tigers draft pick out of the University of Texas Tech. He say what you want. He changed the position of QB. He's the only QB for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Look at the yards that he's thrown, the touchdowns he has. I'm gonna go Patrick Mahomes with my last pick for the all-time Detroit Tigers draft picks.
Wow, yeah, 37th round, 2014 MLB Draft, Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I feel like I always forget this. Like it comes up like randomly every couple of years, and then it leaves my brain. And so yeah, thank you for reminding me about this. Yeah, this is interesting. If we have a fan vote on who's winning, I don't know if that's gonna help you or hurt you. Well, it probably will help you somehow. But
I mean, let me just ask you one question. Which of your draft picks last year had 3,587 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions? Did any of your draft picks have 68.5 QBR last year?
none of mine did, and none of my draft picks made it to, what was it, 4 consecutive Super Bowls like Mahomes did. So
Bingo.
yeah, you got me there. You definitely got me there. Closest that I'm coming is Kirk Gibson in college catching touchdowns,
Which is pretty good. Yeah, awesome. He was sick as a receiver.
Oh man, good one. Okay, so just to recap. Okay, so you went Justin Verlander, Jack Morris, Lance Parrish, and then Pat Mahomes. And on my Mount Rushmore, Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, Gibby, and Tarek Skubal. We're gonna put it to a vote. Follow us on all socials. Vote this week. I think my record in Mount Rushmore's might be slightly better than yours. I can't quite remember though. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I think maybe.
Yeah, we haven't had a Mount Rushmore in quite some time because we've been so busy with Tigers and Lions being so good. We haven't had a chance to jump into these dead periods and do a Mount Rushmore. I think you do have the slight edge over me. But yeah, we'll put it out on all forms of social media. You have any honorable mentions you want to get to?
Yeah, let's get to honorable mentions. Also, I just want to say the Tigers GM from the 70s, who may or may not still be with us, I don't know, but I just want to give a shout out. Jim Campbell is the guy's name, and he is basically responsible for drafting all of those legends that we talked about. You know, a big reason why the Tigers won the World Series in '84. So shout out Jim Campbell. But yeah, dude, honorable mentions, man. This guy, yeah, Curtis Granderson, one of my favorite Tigers growing up. I think he only spent probably 6 seasons with the Tigers, and then he probably played for more than half the league throughout the rest of his career. I swear every year he was just, bumps into another team, but he was just one of my favorites. Another big reason why, we were in the World Series in 2006 and the team's turnaround. So yeah, I had him for sure. This guy, Riley Green, he just hasn't done quite enough yet to be on my Mount Rushmore, but probably he's deserving of an honorable mention. First round pick, number 5 overall. Yeah, I had a couple others too. Do you have any?
Yeah, Riley was on my list because I made a list of 10 to 15 guys. Riley was on my list, 3-time All-Star, back-to-back, first time since Miguel Cabrera. Like, that deserves something. I have Dan Petrie, still very much within the organization. Again,
yes.
He's also doing a lot of commentary stuff. I think Peaches deserves to be on there. I have Travis Fryman, who I think it's a very, a lot of times I feel like people don't know a lot about Travis Fryman, myself included. Like, I wouldn't have known. Travis Fryman's name comes up a lot as before we've had this resurgence of like Riley Green, Torque, like these guys that we had high draft picks on. Travis Fryman was for a long time the greatest position player we drafted. He was drafted in 1987 in the first round, 30th overall. For a long time, like our last position player all-star was, Travis Fryman, or the last time like a rookie position player did this, it was Travis Fryman, 5-time all-star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger. I think he's a guy that just kind of gets swept under the rug a lot that I think deserves a little bit of flowers. So I have Travis Fryman.
Just real quick on Fryman, yeah, 85 dingers, 300 RBIs, and 300 runs before turning 26. So yeah, you mentioned like the first Tiger since Fryman to do X at a young age. Al Kaline, Riley Green are two guys that have also done that. So yeah, Fryman was awesome for the Tigers.
I think a few other kind of in the same vein as Patrick Mahomes, and like technically they were drafted. We had Ozzie Smith, who was technically drafted by the Tigers, and then said, I'm good, went back to college, came back the next year, was drafted, and then obviously went on to have a Hall of Fame level career. You have guys like Andrew Miller, another guy that technically was drafted by Detroit and then went through our minor league system. I'm trying to see who Andrew Miller was traded for. Andrew Miller ended up, if you recall, being just absolutely a lights out pitcher for mostly with the Cleveland Indians at the time. He tormented us for years, but he actually was a draft pick of the Detroit Tigers. First round, 6th overall back in 2006, a 2-time All-Star, ALCS MVP. He has ended up having a fantastic career, mostly with the Yankees and the Indians at the time. Andrew Miller, just an absolute flamethrower who we drafted and then traded away and then ended up tormenting us for years.
For sure, dude. Another big name, Bobby Higginson, just a stud.
You made that up. You made that up.
Yeah, not necessarily loved in Detroit, but still, like you gotta mention his name. Rick Porcello, another absolute stud who, yeah, he won a Cy Young after he left. A string of, I think, pitchers to do that. I can't remember. There's definitely another guy who did it too, but yeah, famous for getting in that fight with, I think, the Red Sox, who ended up, I think he won his Cy Young with the Red Sox, but yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any more. Yeah, that's probably it, man. But yeah, the Tigers are pretty decent at drafting, man. There's some talent for sure.
Yeah, and who knows, when it's all said and done, you could be looking at a Kevin McGonigal on that list. He's obviously had an absolute stellar start to his career. Who knows if Cameron Flukey, the latest guy to be added to the Detroit draftees list, is going to make his way onto this list in 20-some years. Some other kids are going to be doing a podcast about the Tigers' best draft picks, and Flukey might be on there. So it was a little bit of fun. Again, it's a dead period. Yeah, the All-Star games going on. I'm still watching Summer League, the Pistons in Summer League, and I know not everyone is doing that at the time or at the moment, so I got stuff to watch, but a little bit of dead period, we decided to take advantage of it, do a Mount Rushmore. Again, we'll put this out on social media, so take a look at both teams. Let us know who you think won. We'll come on next week and let you guys know what the results were. But let's wrap up the show with our Grit of the Week. We actually have a new sponsor, as we alluded to at the beginning of the show. Grit of the Week is now brought to you by Old Glory. Old Glory is the ultimate destination for officially licensed merchandise, offering over 300,000 items for music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture fans. Since 1969, this family-owned superstore has provided high-quality graphic tees, hoodies, hats, accessories featuring the world's most iconic bands and sports teams. Music lovers can explore merch from all across genres, including legendary artists like Bob Marley, The Beatles, Grateful Dead, The Rolling Stones. All sports fans, anyone listening to this, can represent their favorite teams with official gear from the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, and the NCAA, showcasing their team in pride. Our listeners use promo code GRIT for a discount, an exclusive discount at checkout. That's promo code GRIT, GRIT, at checkout. Thank you, Old Glory. Again, that's oldglory.com. Kick us off, Kyle, with your Grit of the Week.
Dude, yeah, shout out new sponsor, Old Glory. Grit of the Week, man. We talked about him a lot, but my Grit of the Week, Justin Verlander, just announcing that the 2026 season will be his last in the MLB. He'll be retiring after this season. It's been obviously very, very tough for JV this year. Hasn't really pitched at all. Battling injuries. Certainly not the last season that I'm sure he expected when he came back. But yeah, at any rate, man, a Tigers legend, a legend to the league in general, man. Obviously winning World Series with the Astros, but just doing a lot of his work, especially earlier on in his career with the Tigers. 13 seasons now. I guess this is his 14th. And I'm hoping that he comes back. I'm hoping that he pitches, that he's not actually done for this season, and that he can actually contribute. But at any rate, man, we talked about his accolades. Rookie of the Year, MVPs, Cy Youngs, All-Stars. I mean, you name it, man. 2 no-hitters with the Tigers, another, I think, at least 1 or 2 with the Astros. But this guy's a legend, man. He's always going to be my favorite athlete. Just grew up watching the guy, say no more. But yeah, Grit of the Week, man. JV, Justin Verlander.
I'm on a little bit of a love-hate relationship with JV right now, just because he's still injured, still kind of, maybe I wouldn't be that much hate on that side of the relationship if it wasn't for Alex Cobb doing kind of the exact same thing last year. And JV
Fuck
came
Alex
out
Cobb.
last week. I know, but JV came out last week and was like, yeah, no, I realized what happened. We pulled the rug out from under the fans twice now, because twice now they've come out and said JV is back, he's gonna be starting this game, and then ticket prices skyrocketed, and then the day before the game they scratch him, and they've done it twice, and I thought that was pretty scummy. And then he came out last week and was like, yeah, I realized like that was really unfortunate, like I'm not happy about that. You can't be mad at a guy for being injured, but I was a little love-hate relationship there, but I'm happy he's here. I'm happy, like you said, he's officially making it at the end of this year. So I really hope, I'm sure, like, I think if his arm was going to fall off, he would have at least 1 start this year. I think you can pretty much guarantee that. So shout out to him. That'll be much must-see TV when he comes up and does that. My Grit of the Week, I thought maybe you're going to go with this. Rookie catcher for the Detroit Tigers, Eduardo Valencia. He came up this week and just had an absolute storybook start to his career. He is a 26-year-old lifetime minor leaguer. He really was struggling in single A as of 2 years ago, worked really hard with the Tigers hitting coach, changed up his swing, changed up his leg kick a little bit, ended up finally working his way up to AAA, was just called up last week because Dylan Dingler, our sweet Prince Dingler, was hit on the hand with the pitch, so he is going to be out at least for the time being. They called up Eduardo Valencia, his first at bat. He hits a home run. It's just storybook. He's from Venezuela. Venezuela obviously was struggling with, I believe, was the immense earthquake that just devastated the country. He was emotional. His wife was there at the game. She was emotional. He is not only just was that a great story for coming up and, repping Venezuela, but then, hitting a home run in his first at bat. He's also just still playing really well. He's played in 2 or 3 more games. He's always been known for his power, but in his 10 at bats, he has 5 hits, 2 home runs, hitting 500 right now, 3 RBIs, a slugging of 1.1, OPS of 1.645. Like he is actually doing it, and obviously very small sample size, but he hits bombs, and that's what he did in the minor leagues, and all of his home runs have been absolute no-doubters to the deepest part of the park. So just a great story, a 26-year-old who has just worked and worked and worked. I'm so happy, that he was able to do this in front of his wife. And I think the Tigers are still trying to get his family out here to see him in person from Venezuela, but with their earthquake going on at the moment, they're really struggling to do that. So my grid of the week, Eduardo Valencia.
Dude, awesome grid of the week. I was hoping, when I picked JV, I'm like, yeah, this guy, you definitely will get him. And rightfully so, dude. Shout out to Eduardo Valencia. Yeah, dude, his first ever at bat. You mentioned it, man. He's hitting it just the deepest parts of Comerica Park. 425-foot solo homer when the team is desperate for wins right now, and you got your stud catcher Dylan Dingler out, and Valencia answers the bell, answers the call, and just doing it back-to-back nights, homers, RBIs left and right. Like this kid's doing it all, man. After his first home run in his first game, you mentioned his wife. Just absolute scenes, just him just celebrating with his wife after the game, both getting interviewed. Like it was awesome, man. I think the broadcast did a great job with that too, just highlighting how special that moment is. So yeah, shout out to the Tigers broadcast team. Shout out Eduardo Valencia, just absolutely doing it, man. Good of the week.
Yeah, so shout out JV, shout out Eduardo. That is our show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. You can find Kyle and I both on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and myself at @_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram or on TikTok at Gridiron Report. You can find us on Twitter at Gridiron Report 1, or you can watch these full-length episodes and a few YouTube shorts at Gridiron Report. Finally, you could join the conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail for us to play and discuss on the podcast. That phone number is 313-306-7939. If you like this episode, please take a moment to rate it 5 stars, leave us a nice review, follow us on all the forms of social media, vote on who you guys think won the Mount Rushmore so we can add it to the overall history of the show. And we'll come on next week's show and let you guys know who ended up winning. So follow us, vote on that. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Restore the roar.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired, Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on, blast beats thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow.